I think most of the states I go to, you get into the 140 inch. That's a pretty good deer. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Um,
The mountain bucks are so interesting to me though, because we talked to a biologist at the place we hunted a few years ago, and he said, what kills most of these bucks is age, not hunters.
yeah.
And there was a buck that got killed on a hunt in there one day, and the biologist aged it. It was like a 10.5-year-old buck, and it weighed 103 pounds, field dressed, and it had
Wow.
a 165-inch rack. And
Wow.
it's insane to me. We kill, like, every time a buddy or one of us kills one of those mountain bucks, like, we end up looking at the jaws on a lot of them, and it's like we get a lot of them estimated. We started doing cement to manulat recently to get more accurate on the aging, but I mean, not a tooth in the head, just wore even, just
Wow.
gone. And it's so interesting because what the mountain bucks have, especially a lot of the public ones that, deer didn't have where we grew up, is age. And
Yeah.
they get age, they get big. And they'll, so even though you don't have a high deer density, it's like we'd rather go and hunt for a week and be in the game for a 150, 160, 170 than hunt 90 days back at home and be like, all right, there's a 120 coming to my corn feeder that I can
Hmm.
go assassinate every once in a while. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the allure to the mountains for
Yeah.
us. It's like I don't mind going and sitting and getting skunked because the second you hear a leaf crunch, you turn it seems like it's like
It's
a
either a
quarter foot.
spike or a
It's a
160.
spike or a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah.
It's one or the other,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. I just
Yeah.
love the
It
mountains
is.
for that reason.
Yeah. Me too. And that's down in Ohio or West Virginia where I go. PA. That's how it's the same deal. You don't know. Yeah. And if you get one over 5 years old, they pretty much figured it out. And it's hard to catch him slipping up. So if you get one over five, you did something, unless he gets to the age where he's senile and he just needs to be killed, like he's on a way toward downward spiral. But yeah, it is really interesting, um, and challenging. Yeah, it is pretty awesome shooting a mountain deer.
Yeah, I mean, the age class on them too. I mean,
Hmm.
it was 2 years ago. My uncle texted me and he's like, we had just got done hunting. I had picked a random spot on the map and went, and I heard those footsteps coming. And I was like, oh, here we go. And I turned around. This time I just got to watch a white tail run off with about a mid 130s 8 point running away. And I was like, he had winded me. I was like, crap. My uncle called me and he said, hey, I shot a doe. Come help me drag it out. I was like, huh, seems a little fishy. Why you need help dragging a doe out? We got back to the truck and he had a 165-inch 16 point, just mainframe tin
Wow.
with triple flyers off each G2.
That's
And it
stupid.
and I killed a doe that week, and we sat them next to each other, and he scaped out that buck and he set them next to each other. And I didn't know which one was the doe and which one was the buck.
Wow.
Little bitty bodied suckers. But I can tell you, 160-inch mountain buck, it looks like a 200 inch you're walking through the woods.
That's great. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I hunted one a couple years ago that he was 108 point. He was probably in the mid 50s, 3 years in a row, and had him on cameras, never in a daytime. And I found out where he lived the last year, and I went in. We have a late season flintlock season. So it's old, 1800s type gun where it's just flint and frizzen. Your pan powders on the outside and powder down a barrel, but really primitive way of hunting. But it comes in after Christmas, and you're allowed to hunt. We had some snow, so I went into this area to hunt this big deer, and I found where he was hanging at, and I went in after him, and he was with two other buck. I'm just tracking, not haven't seen these deer, just following their tracks, seeing them feed, and he split off with these other bucks, and I followed his track, and he was just acting like a mature deer would. But anyways, I had caught up to him, and he was had shed his horns already, and I know it was that big deer, and so anyways, he took off running. I'd followed him, and he did a huge circle. It took him through the night. I followed him till dark, maybe a mile, and then just to learn about him for the following year, his home range. And I did a huge circle the next morning, finished. He come back to the same area that I originally jumped him,